What's going on? I'm an electrical inspector. I've been doing this for just under 20 years and got a lot of questions on my email for advice from you guys. And sometimes I make videos about it. Sometimes we just talk about it on live. So I'm going to read you the email that I got and then we're going to show you guys together. The last time we did this, we were looking at elevator controls and seeing how to use a toner or tracer and what was going to work for that. So this is the email. Hey, I'm one of YouTube's subscribers. Enjoyed your live tonight. About 3 weeks ago, I asked you about an issue I was having with one of my bedrooms not having power at any of the 4 outlets. Come to find out, the issue was worse than I thought. I had no power in my attic as well. In my attic, there's an outlet that's linked up with a switch that has controls that controls a attic light and a TV outlet. We're going to draw this out as we talk about this. So I'm going to read you this. It's just me tonight. In my attic, there's an outlet that's linked up with a switch that controls a attic light and a TV outlet above my fireplace. While I was attempting to figure out the issue with my attic and TV, I noticed that there are like 5 Romex wires running to the GFCI outlet that had a broken red hot wire in it. Okay. When I hear that there's a red wire in a box, usually that means that there's going to be a 240 volt circuit, potentially a multi-wire branch circuit. It's not going to be a single circuit. You're not going to run 12-3 to a box for fun unless you got some kind of switch leg thing going on with your 3-ways or like travelers, or you've got 2 circuits, or you're running another leg for a 240 volt circuit. When I hear this, I think he's going to have 2 circuits and he's sharing a neutral. That's my thought. So, broken red hot wire in it that I ended up finding out is that bedroom too. The living room TV and the attic are all daisy chained to the attic GFCI breaker at the circuit box. I'm just reading how it's written to me. It's not going to make a lot of sense. We got to use our imagination because a professional is not writing this. So we got to have an open mind on the information that we're gathering and try to get the best collection of evidence to determine what we're even listening about. And I'm going to read it again for you guys in a second quickly. Hang on. I had a box of 5-way lever style connectors on hand and made all the connections, which restored the power to all the areas that were out. There's no way all those wires can fit properly inside the 1-gang outlet box in my attic. What's the best way I can clean up this big mess to make it safe, less of a possible fire hazard, and code compliant? Should I add a junction box to some? Separate everything to reduce the clutter? What do you recommend below as an attached of the connectors he used? Okay, here are the connectors that he used. Okay, so those are not wagos. They're not lever connectors. They're not 221s. They're not Harbor Freight specials. Those are not good connectors as far as I'm concerned. I said, hey, when you say 2 hots from that wire, do you mean 2 separate circuits with a shared neutral? And I said, yes, a wago has 5 ports. He said, here's the label on the lever nuts. And I'm trying to get his name off of here. There's the label there. There's no UL listing. There's no NRTL. There's no ETL. There's no listing on these, man. You can't buy wire nuts from China and do wiring in a home and it be considered a suitable job, I guess you would say. They're not, everything's got to be listed. Only Tuesdays and Sundays, tactics, Sundays, CST. Yeah, exactly. Appreciate the Appreciate the clarification, Ott. So he says, does Wago or Ideal make a 5-in-1 lever connector? Would I have one main wire with 2 hots coming from the breaker box? So if he's got one main wire with 2 hots, that's going to be, like what I said, probably a Romex, and it's going to have a red and a black and a white and a ground. So he's going to have 2 hots and a neutral and a ground. So he's probably got 2 circuits in that box. My worry is that he tied all the hots together. And it's probably okay. He just doesn't exactly know where everything's going. So you don't want to overload the circuit. And we're going to look at that in a second. So he's got one main wire with 2 hots coming from the breaker box, 1 wire from the bedroom, 1 wire from the TV, 1 wire leading from the outlet connected to a switch, and 1 wire runs to the light in the attic. So based on what he said at the beginning of this, he said 5 Romex wires running to the GFCI outlet. One bedroom, 1 living room. GFCI breaker. Okay, so not having any power. Come to find out these was worse than I thought. No power to your attic as well. In my attic, there's an outlet that's linked up with a switch that controls the attic light TV outlet above my fireplace. While I was attempting to figure it out, the issue, I noticed there's like 5 Romex wires running to the GFCI outlet. So he's kind of jumping around here. What I'm getting is that there's probably a GFCI outlet in his attic, and that's the one that he's talking about. Because earlier, whenever he was explaining, he said that he's got like 5 wires going to a GFCI box. 3 wires in a GFCI box is already a headache for a professional, man. They're pretty deep. So let's see what we're gonna do here. We'll use our nice O pin for this. He's got 1 wire coming up, and it has in here we have 2. You know what? The light is actually messing up my camera, and you guys can't even see what I'm drawing. So we're gonna turn off the light. He has 2 hots. 1 black, 1 red, 1 white. And he's running to a box. And in that box, come to find out your issue was in your attic, there's an outlet that's linked up with a switch that controls the attic light, a TV. A switch controls an attic light and a TV outlet above your fireplace. So he's got another box here. We're going to draw this. I'm just going to put a line here so we can show that like one's inside of the house, one's outside of the house. This is like in the attic. So above his fireplace, we're just going to visualize this. We'll draw a nice fireplace with a hearth, right? And this is where his fire goes, right? And he probably has a receptacle right there. Okay, so with the switch that controls the attic light and a TV outlet above your fireplace. Okay, so he's also got a switch here. He's got another box here. Damn. Man. This is the ceiling. He's in his attic. In his attic, he's got a switch. What else does he have? We're going to redraw this. but at least I understand what I'm looking at. In the attic, there's an outlet that's linked up with a switch that controls a attic light and a TV outlet. Okay, so the constant hot runs down here to feed this receptacle. And there's also an outlet here. There's a switch and an outlet box. What he's got. So here he's got, this is basically the box with the receptacle. And then he leaves here. He's got a switch. There's a switch in here. We're just going to put this here. GSCI. And this goes down here to, this is for the TV. That's basically what he's got. Next. While I was attempting to figure out the issue with my attic TV, I noticed that there's like 5 Romex wires running to the GSCI outlet that had a broken red hot wire in it. So here, we're going to continue this. And he had a broken red wire. What I ended up finding out is that the bedroom 2 and living room TV and the attic are all daisy chained to the attic GSCI breaker at the circuit box. I don't think that's a GSCI breaker. I think when he says attic GSCI breaker, I think he's talking about attic GSCI receptacle. So when he says what I ended up finding out is the bedroom 2 and the living room TV and the attic are all daisy chained to the attic GSCI breaker at the circuit box. Now, this is why I said you got to keep an open mind when you're listening to customers, because daisy chained implies that they're in series, and he might have a parallel connection. So when we say daisy chained, we're talking about in a row like this: receptacle, 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 receptacle. And if you take everyone's verbiage at face value, you'll never find out. It's important to listen to the customer because they're going to give you the best way to figure out what you're looking at. But you also have to take everything they say with a grain of salt and try to rationalize what they're actually explaining. So this is where you start asking questions. Did you actually see where they're in line? And then this one here does go to bedroom 2? Or when you say daisy chain, do you mean they're all connected together? So now that's some art. I appreciate it, John Doe. What's up, Apache? I'm thinking, so we have a bedroom 2. We have a bedroom 2 in question. And we know somehow it gets attached over here. Now, he says he's got 5 Romexes, okay? One Romex is going to be the switch that feeds this. One Romex is going to be here. One Romex could be bedroom 2. You see what I'm saying? I had a box of 5-way lever style connectors on hand and made the connections which restored the power to the areas. Okay, so he doesn't have 5 Romexes. He has 5 wires. Okay, black, red. That's 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Did he do 5 connections? Let's find out. Which restored the power to all the areas that were out. There's no way that all those wires can fit properly inside a 1-gang box in your attic. That's the least of your worries right now. There's 5 Romex wires running to the GSCI outlet that had a broken red hot wire in it. What ended up finding out is the bedroom 2. Okay, the whole point of this, right, is to kind of decipher what the customer is saying. I don't believe he has 5 Romex wires running here. I think he has 5 wires with Romex. So what he had was that broken red wire that went to something. What I'm concerned about is this other hot, because what he actually probably has, bedroom 2 is probably on its own separate circuit, though the neutrals are shared. And then your light and your TV are on a separate circuit, though your neutrals are shared. And you can do this, you can tie them all together and get away with it if you're on the same phase of the same leg. So this is for the electricians, extreme DIY. If this is your neutral, and you have 120 here and 120 here in your panel. In your panel, you have breakers that alternate, right? Draw that down the middle. And this is A, this is B, this is A, this is B. That's why you get 240 off of a double pole breaker, right? You're going to attach a breaker across here. If this is one leg of 120 and this is the next leg, we're just going to call it A and B, even though it's single phase, but it's split. We're just going to call it A and B, but it's really single phase, but we're going to call it A and B. This is one leg, this is the other leg. You got A here, and then you got B here, and you got A here, and you got B here. No, you can't use a shared neutral with an arc fault, and you can't use a shared neutral with a double pole breaker. That's what I'm getting at. So, you can potentially use a shared neutral with a double pole breaker. It just depends on what they did, but I already know that they didn't use the double pole breaker because this is old school. They ran two separate circuits and shared the neutral. So I'm not sure what he did with this one. He's going to have to send me some pictures. But basically, what we want to do is make sure that we distribute our hot load correctly. So if he's watching, and he probably is, I would say this is the neutral here, right? And then here you're going to have a, we're not going to show the grounds for simplicity, okay? And here, neutral, 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 neutral. Your switch here gets made up like this, basically. That's your hots. Neutrals get tied together inside your switch box, right? That's self-explanatory. Nice, Shaka. I would say you want to run all your neutrals 2, 3, 2, 3. And chances are he had something else working. It just was never off. Chances are he might have another Romex in there. He could have a mystery wire. We'll call this a mystery wire. That was never off, right? Neutral. You tie all your neutrals together. But then what you want to be careful of is if this is your red and this is your black, and then there's going to be a reason why it's GFCI'd. So I don't want to tell you what state he lives in, but he could have de-icing equipment. He could have a situation where he needs a GFCI on his equipment. It could go to a bathroom. Let's just say that's a bathroom. Let's just say that's a bathroom he didn't know. In this case, you don't want to tie the neutral to this cluster because you'll lose your GFCI protection. You see what I'm saying? So you really want to be mindful of knowing where these wires go before you just hook them up is the whole point in this. Yes, it will work, but there's a reason why there's a GFCI in here. So to make it more simple, this is your box, this is your Romex coming in, and we have red there, black there, neutral there. This is a constant hot from the breaker, right? Good Romex coming in here, black, neutral, switch. This one's self-explanatory. We don't have to draw that. This goes down to this receptacle over here. We don't have to draw that. Let's say this is a receptacle in the bathroom. And it comes in here. we want to make sure that we tie this to the load side of the GFCI. So this needs this hot and this neutral. You see what I'm saying? What's up, Soup Sir? So I'm drawing this just to get this guy thinking about where things might go. You definitely don't want to just attach this all together. It'll work. It'll work. The worst thing you can do is attach black and red, and you'll just trip your breaker because you'll be shorting out your connection, right? But let's assume that there was another one went up here, and this went to bedroom 2. Remember bedroom 2? Bedroom 2. Sorry, this is not the easiest thing to write on. And this red went directly to bedroom 2, and that was connected there. And the neutrals all went here for all this. And we had 3 wires underneath that one neutral. But then we came out with a pigtail off of this because it's the feed, right? And we put a receptacle GFCI in line. We landed the neutral on one side, and then we had the neutral here on the other side, and the hots, right? Because you got line and load. And what if the neutral here for the bathroom needed to go here? This black needed to go here because this is the line side, and the load is here, and then this needed to feed the bathroom. So you don't want all this connected underneath the wire nut. Maybe that's why there wasn't a wire nut so large where he needed a wire nut in the first place. Because you got to think, if it was there and it's been working all this time, why all of a sudden does he need a 5-way wago to connect it all back together? You see what I'm saying? It probably does something similar to that. And when I read you this email, this is what I deciphered from that. So this is what I came up with. In the email that he sent, I determined that he had a 12-3. He had a shared neutral. He had 2 hots on the constant side. He had a bedroom 2 that went to something. He had a switch that controlled an attic light that also went to a receptacle by his fireplace. We're going to call it the F place because we're cool. And then possibly something, the reason why he would need something for a GFCI, because he says he has 5 Romexes, so that'd be 1, 2, 3, 4. He could have another circuit in that mix. So this is what I've determined. He's got a bedroom that needs to be fed. He's got, what's up, Russ? A 12-2 with a red and a black. The red was broken. He's got a bathroom, possibly something that needs GFCI protection. And then he's got this. This is the email that he read me. This is what he said. Hey, one of your subscribers enjoyed your live tonight. About 3 weeks ago, I asked you about an issue I was having in one of my bedrooms, not having power on any of the 4 outlets. Come to find out the issue was worse than I first thought. I had no power in my attic as well. In my attic, there's an outlet that's linked up with a switch that controls an attic light and a TV outlet above my fireplace. While I was attempting to figure out the issue with my attic TV, I noticed that there was like 5 Romex wires running to the GFCI outlet that had a broken red hot wire in it. What I ended up finding out is that the bedroom 2, the living room TV, and the attic all are daisy chained to the attic GFCI breaker in the circuit box. I had a box of 5-way lever style connectors on hand and made the connections which restored the power to all the areas that were out. There's no way that all those wires can fit properly inside the 1 gang box in your attic. What's the best way you can clean this up without having a big mess? What's code compliant and blah, blah, blah. My answer for all this is that, first off, if you didn't have a 5 lever nut in your attic in the first place, you shouldn't need to install one. Next off, there's a reason for the GFCI, so there's going to be a line of the load. Next, when you save your red wire, I'm thinking that there's a 12-3, a 14-3, something else like that. Next is that you don't want to attach all that together because you're going to lose your line and load protection properties on your GFCI. So my recommendation is to go get yourself one of these toner tracers. You sound like you're pretty handy. Get you one of these VDV 500s or these 123s, whatever it is. Make sure it's got the light so you can actually trace what you're doing and figure out where those individual wires go so you know how you want to hook them up. And then email me back, send me pictures of what you got. My knee-jerk reaction is that you probably don't have GFCI protection on something that you should right now. And the other situation is you could potentially be doing this. Let's say in your bathroom you have a heater in the ceiling, and it does, let's say it's 1,000 watts. Let's say in your fireplace, which is also your living room, you potentially also have a heater in your living room, and that's 1,000 watts. And let's say in your bedroom, you have a heater for 1,000 watts. I don't know what you got. But let's say you have that. You just put all of that on one wire. So your wire that's going back to your panel, to an individual breaker, you usually have two individual breakers because you have a red here. So because you wagoed all this together, it will work. But the problem is that this one single wire was never meant to carry the load from bedroom 2 and the bathroom. You're definitely going to have a dryer. So you're going to have a hair dryer minimum at 1,500 watts. So you really want to be careful with tying everything all in the same circuit, which is basically what you're doing. You should not need a 5-way lever nut. That's my opinion on that. All right. That's all I got, man. I do these for people all the time. I get emails all the time. I get situations like this. Yeah, you guys got any questions? Reach out. Shoot me an email. It's conductivewood@gmail.com. We're out of here. Appreciate it, Denny. See you guys.